Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be talking all about slope. I will be answering the following questions. What does slope even mean? How do you find the slope of a line on a coordinate grid? And why do we use slope anyway? Here we go. When you think of the word slope, I want you to think of yourself walking up a hill. If that hill is really steep, that is going to have a pretty high slope. If that hill is not very steep, then it's not going to have a very big slope, okay? So when you think of the word slope, think of the word steepness. So here's a random line, and what we're going to do today is we're going to figure out what the slope is of this line. So when you're trying to figure out the slope of a line, the first thing you want to do is find two spots on this line where it perfectly crosses a horizontal and a vertical line. So all of these little lines on your coordinate graph paper, those are all horizontal lines. All of the lines that go this direction, those are all vertical lines. So I'm trying to find a spot on my graph paper where this line perfectly crosses a horizontal and a vertical line, kind of like it's in the middle of an intersection. So I would maybe pick this spot here and maybe this spot here. It doesn't really matter which two spots you choose because this point also crosses perfectly there, all the way down here it crosses perfectly. There are an infinite amount of spots that this line crosses perfectly, but you only need to choose two. Okay, once you've done that, I want you to start with the point that's on the left. So I'm going to start with this point, okay? The next thing you do is you want to go up and count how many units up it would take to get to this other point. So we would move 1 unit up and we would move 2 units to the right. 1 unit up, 2 units to the right. So the slope of this line is going to be 1/2, okay? Up 1 over 2. A lot of times, slope is also called the rise over the run. So the first thing you want to do is go up or down, and in our scenario, we went up. And then the second thing you want to do is go to the right, always to the right. What I tell my students is, if you're not going to the right, you're going to the wrong. Always to the right. Okay, let me show you another example. Here is my second line, the one that's drawn in purple. So, like I said last time, when you look at your line, the first thing you want to do is find two spots where this line perfectly crosses an intersection. So it perfectly crosses a horizontal line and a vertical line. So maybe choose this point right here and this point right here. Now I'm going to show you in just a minute, but if you didn't choose those 2 points, you would still end up getting the right answer, and I'll show you how. So the first thing we're going to do is figure out how many units we have to rise and how many units we have to go to the right to get to that next spot that our line perfectly crosses. So in this example, we would go up 3 units and we would go to the right 1 unit. So our slope is going to be 3 over 1, which is equal to just 3 if we reduce. Now let's pretend we didn't choose those 2 points. Let's pretend I chose this point and then this one all the way down here. So I want to read my lines left to right, just like the direction you read a book, left to right. And I want to figure out how many units up and how many units to the right to get to this next spot. So if I counted the units up and then the units right, I would get 6 units up and 2 units right. And the number 6 over 2 reduces to 3 over 1, which is just 3. So it really doesn't matter which 2 points you choose, you will always get a slope of 3. Now, the reason I kept our red line is because I just wanted you to be able to compare the slopes of these 2 different lines. So if you remember from last time, our slope was 1/2. And 1/2, that number is not very big. So it didn't have a huge slope to it or a huge steepness to it. This purple line is very steep, and this one had a slope of 3. So the number 3 is a lot bigger than the number 1/2. So the line that has a slope of 3 is going to be a lot steeper than the line that has a slope of 1/2. Make sense? Let's do another one. Here is our next line. It's the green line. And I want you to look at it for a second and see if you see something different about this line than you see about the purple and the red line. Did you get it? This is the only line out of the 3 that goes down to the right. Both of our other lines go up to the right. And I want you to look at lines the same way that you read a book, left to right, okay? So this is the only one that goes down, and this one is actually going to have a negative slope. Let me show you. So the first thing you're going to do is find 2 points on this line that perfectly go across a horizontal and a vertical line. And I am just going to go over here just because there's more room, and I'm going to pick these 2 points. So instead of going up to the right, I am going to go down to the right, and I go down 1 unit, and I go to the right 3 units. So the slope of this green line is negative 1/3. Now, if you look at the number 1/3, 1/3 is smaller than the number 3 and the number 1/2. So even though it's a negative slope, it should also be kind of like less steep than these other 2 lines, okay? Because it's a smaller number. Remember, the smaller the slope, the less steep the line is, okay? Let's do one more. This blue one is the last line that we're gonna look at. And as you can see, this blue line goes perfectly horizontal. So just for a minute, just picture walking on the ground in your house. There is probably no slope to your flat ground. So if you ever see a line that goes perfectly straight across like this horizontally, that line has a slope of 0, okay? So this line has a slope of 0, and 0 is smaller than the number 1/3, smaller than the number 1/2, and smaller than the number 3. So that one is going to be the least steep of all. And if you can picture it, a line perfectly like this doesn't have any steepness to it. So a line like this would have a slope of 0. Okay, before I let you go, I want to say one more thing. If you ever ran into a line that goes perfectly vertical, so a line straight up and down, that line actually doesn't have a slope, or it's called undefined. Undefined. You see that every so often. So just think about it like this. If you see a line like this, you can walk on it, and it doesn't have any steepness to it. If you see a line like this, you could not walk on a line like that, unless, of course, you were Spider-Man. So a line like this is undefined. Got it? Okay, I hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe below. See ya!